Hi guys. So I want to talk to you about a few incidences that happen on the water that are, and a lot of times it's preventable, sometimes it isn't, but there's times that it is definitely preventable. So a kayaker is missing from the Owyhee River, which is in Rome, Oregon. And his girlfriend told him not to go, and he didn't listen. Because he didn't listen, he's missing, and there's a strong possibility he's deceased. I'm not a kayak expert by any means, but I've had my share of doing, being on the water and being in canoes when I was a kid, being on, in kayaks as an adult. And I don't really care for canoes just because I find them tippy. That's just me. I just don't like the way they feel. However, you cannot just, oh, I'm going to go kayaking. There's a body of water. Let me jump on it. Yes, that's tempting. It is. The water's beautiful. It's a calm day. The sun is out. The temperature's perfect. And it's just one of those things that the temptation and the desire is so powerful that you don't really think about safety necessarily. But unless you know that area, unless it's a super calm lake, not to say something can't happen in a super calm lake, it can happen on any body of water. It makes no difference. Okay. But he should have done his research. You need to find out if you should be on that river, because some rivers are super challenging. Okay. If it's after a flood, that's potentially deadly. You've got things in the water. You've got huge trees, potentially. You've got metal pieces of a building, possibly. If the storms were severe, big chunks of sharp metal. If a huge tree is floating down behind you and you don't see it, it could smash into you and you could go flying right out of your kayak. Flooding is one of the worst times to go. I've done it. It's not smart. Okay, it's not smart. I ain't gonna lie. It was dumb. But I know now how dangerous it was, and I'm not gonna do that again if I can help it. You have to study the body of water. You have to do research on it. And it's so simple. Like, is it dangerous to be on the Owyhee River? And it'll tell you yay or nay, and these are the reasons why. He did not have a PFD on, which is a personal flotation device, life jacket. He did not have one on. I've worn one every single time I've been on the water, every single time, without fail and without question. I don't care if it's so calm that you could count the ripples on the water. I don't give a rat's rear end. You don't know when something's going to happen. And when something happens on the water, it can happen fast and without warning. Okay? He didn't have on a PFD. His girlfriend had a bad feeling about it, and she told him don't go. And of course, he's going to do what he wants to do. And now there's a strong possibility he's dead. And it makes me sad because that's preventable. When you do research on it, I will give you an example. I'm going to tell you what I wrote under the Owyhee River when this guy was giving pointers on not necessarily the dangers of the water, but he said, don't hog up the ramp, unload, move your vehicle, and then do what you got to do so somebody else could put their vehicle in. Especially if it's real busy, you should have river etiquette and have manners and realize that other people are waiting to get in there, especially when it's crowded and that kind of thing. He said if anybody else has, he said he went through a bunch of pointers. Don't be a 3-person group and take up a 30-person campsite because that's just rude and unnecessary. Get enough space for the space that you need. You're only 3 people. You don't need a camping space for 30 people. It just doesn't make any sense. Don't sit there lallygag, joking, talking with your friends and what have you when your vehicle's blocking. It's just things like that he was talking about. But I researched it, and if I could find it, and I'm nowhere near Oregon, if I could find that information, it was easily accessible to him as well. And he gave all these pointers, and he said, if anybody else has anything to add, add in the comments below. And I said, a kayaker is missing from this river. This is March 2025. He's missing. If you haven't done your research on a certain body of water and you don't have the skill set, you don't have the proper equipment, such as a PFD, keep your backside at home. His girlfriend told him not to go, but as usual, men don't listen. I have seen, and the only reason I'm saying that about men is because I have seen men, in particular, put themselves in treacherous bodies of water, and they were lucky they survived. They knew it was a bad idea. They could feel that it's dangerous. They could feel that they should get off the water and camp here, even though at this particular, island or whatever, even though it wasn't the plan. And it still kept going because they're determined by God to do it. And you got to look at, do you want to look at being macho and look at how big your ego is? Or do you want to just say, we got to change the plans. The water's too rough. We're going to have to camp here for the night. We'll figure it out. Let the storm do what it's got to do. And hopefully tomorrow things will be more calm. And if not, then we need to just, ditch this whole plan because it's already a major problem. Certain channels you have no business in because it's treacherous. And that's on a good day. All right. You just gotta use some sense. And when things go insane, when do you get a clue that you have to have a change of plans? Bear with me. So, I did a very easy, quick search. Is the Owyhee River dangerous to kayak? That's what you do. You don't just jump on the water and cross your fingers and toes and hope to God it works out. You don't do that. And if you want to, if you do your research and you find that it's dangerous, the next move, if you're still determined to do it, it's in your bloodstream, I've got to, conquer that river. That's when you look into getting a guide, a professional guide. They know the river like the back of their hand. They're going to take you to a spot that's super calm. They're going to educate you on, you don't want to go past this point because it's extremely dangerous and that sort of thing. You get a guide. Forget about trying to be tough and I can do this and I'm a man and not look. No, just don't. Okay. So I said, is it dangerous? Yes, the Owyhee River can be dangerous to kayak, especially at low water levels. The river has challenging rapids, unpredictable flows, and hidden hazards. That's another thing that the video that I just saw, he said, the water, everything is unpredictable. The weather is unpredictable. The water is unpredictable. You're not going to have perfect weather, perfect water conditions, and a perfect campsite. He's basically saying, so many words or less, you're going to have to choose two of the three because you're not going to get all three in one setting or whatever the case is. Rapids, Widowmaker, a class 5 rapid at mile 21. That's challenging for rafts. Whistling Bird Rapid, a class 3, class 4 rapid with an undercut hazard that's more pronounced at low flows. Montgomery Rapid, and those of you that are from this area, Oregon, then you'll know what I'm talking about, especially if you're an expert on kayaking. All of this will make sense to you. Montgomery Rapid, a class 3, class 4 rapid, that's the longest and most technical on the lower Owyhee. Nuisance Rapid, a class 4 rapid at lower flows. Okay. The Owyhee's flow is unpredictable and unreliable. Let me say that again. The Owyhee flow is unpredictable and unreliable. That alone should tell you have to get a guide, if there's a guide available. At low water, the river can be difficult to navigate. In the spring, the river is often emerging from winter with snow, rain, hail, and strong winds. Hazards, hidden holes, boulder gardens, brush along the banks, and blind corners. Okay. Boulder gardens are basically huge boulders that are in the water, and you may have to have a certain skill set in order to navigate in between those boulders. Okay. You do not want to hit a boulder head on and punch a hole in your kayak. And yes, I've seen a kayaker who's very experienced do that. Thankfully, they had duct tape and some other tools in their toolbox that they could patch his boat up so they could make it back home safely. Safety tips. Be comfortable with creaking, shipping, and oar management. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Be able to self-rescue from sticky rocks. Have a contingency plan. Use good judgment. Right. Consider smaller, more nimble rafts. So all it takes is research. I know the water's calling you. I know it's a drug. I know you want to challenge yourself, but at what risk? At what risk? I'm going to tell you what, there's a couple of people that I absolutely adore. They're wonderful. They're super smart on the water, as far as safety and experience. They've been kayaking ever since they were knee-high to a grasshopper and doing canoes. They know they're certified in, everything. One of them is Dan with Kayak Headwaters. He is an instructor. His mom is an instructor. They're both mega educated on everything pertaining to the water. Another person is Ken Whiting, and he is a world champion whitewater paddler, and he's an expert on kayaks, canoes, safety on the water. He is ACA certified, which is American Canoe Association. There's another guy, I forget his name. And he's with I can't remember the organization, but he's another one. Aronoff is his last name. He's another expert on the water. And I'm going to tell you what Dan said, and I'm going to tell you what Ken also said. And this is coming from experts. So you want to listen to what they're saying, and you want to memorize what they're saying, because you want the knowledge that's in their head in your head. So God forbid this should happen. You remember what not to do. Okay. I would try to find the video, and the one that Dan talked about where a group of people went on the river and one of them lost his life. One of the things that Dan said, and Ken also said, is when you bump into something or you hit something, you do not want to yank away, and go in the opposite direction out of fear. You want to lean into what you've hit. Ken said this being funny, but he said, so if you hit that rock, lean into the rock, give it a hug, and then he goes, okay, don't give it a hug, but lean into it. Don't lean outside, the opposite of it, because that extreme motion will potentially cause you to flip. And Dan, a group of them were on the river, and one of the guys was in a canoe, and they were under a bridge, and there was a huge, pillars, the pillars that hold the bridge up. And one of the guys turned around. He wasn't paying attention to what was in front of him or to his side. I'm not sure which. And he turned around, and I don't know, he's looking at the people behind him, and he slammed into the pillar. When he slammed into the pillar or hit the pillar, he leaned in the opposite direction. So basically you overcompensate. Well, he was in a canoe and it flipped. And when it flipped aggressively and pinned his legs underneath it, and he drowned in front of them. There was not a damn thing they could do. The force of the current in that particular part of the river is nothing to play with, and there is no way for them to rescue him. He said, this is one of the hardest videos I've ever had to make. And it's not a matter of, oh, okay, so you want to basically victim shame. Don't even put that on the table. That has nothing to do with it. But when I watched the video a couple of times, because I want to know what not to do, and I want to be as well versed as possible. But if he had leaned into the pillar, because I didn't catch that the first time I saw the video, I watched it again and I caught it. I'm glad I watched it again because I got an aha moment. And I remembered that Ken also said, lean into what you hit or what's in your way, lean into it so that you don't do that. And then boom. And if he had leaned into it rather than away, he'd be alive today. It's an issue of, you don't have to go through that to realize that that's a very, very, very bad idea. Okay. There's videos on, my eyes itching. There's videos on YouTube that show a particular inlet, and I think it's in Florida. That ocean is angry, angry, angry. The waves are extremely high. The water is extremely aggressive. There's small boats trying to traverse the water, that particular inlet, and a lot of them do not make it. They have engine problems. There's something on their boat fails and they have to be rescued. When you look at the water and you look at the size of your boat, do you honestly think you should be in the water with that little boat you got? Do you not see how aggressive that water is? Some things do not require you to be a water expert. It just requires you to use some common sense. And 9 times out of 10, nobody has on a life jacket. They're cool nowadays. They don't look like the dreaded keyhole orange. There are some that you can buy if you can't afford nothing else. I'd rather you get that than nothing. Okay? But now they've got different colors, different styles, different color combinations. They have fancy ones, not so fancy. People can spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a fancy color coordinated whatever. You don't even need all that. Get you a $20 or $30 vest and call it a day. Don't worry about whether you look good or not. Well, does this match my outfit? The hell with that. Do you want to live or not? Do you want to survive or not? A life jacket doesn't guarantee that you will survive, but it increases your odds that you will. It just, if you look on YouTube, you will see the boats that are in the inlet. They look like toys compared to the ocean. They look like toys. I remember years and years ago, probably 7 years, I don't really know the time frame, maybe 7, 8 years ago, I had an inflatable boat, which is a nuisance. Especially on a windy day. You're not going to make no progress. You're going to go, in a windy day, you're going to go in circles. But one particular day, I went down there to the river or the lake, and the water was choppy, really, 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 really choppy. If you don't have the type of boat that can handle that, and you don't have the skill set to handle wind, aggressive wind, you don't need to be out there. I don't care how strong you think you are. Look at those white caps on the water. There's your clue. Okay? There's your clue. Speaking of strength, And I've talked about this before. And I don't know if y'all be able to, you'll get a gist of it. When you are kayaking, you do not just want to use your arms. You don't want that. You don't want that. You don't want that. You want to incorporate your torso. You want to do torso rotation. So when you are doing the right side, you lead with your shoulder and you turn your torso. Turn, 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 turn. It doesn't have to be a dramatic turn, but you need to incorporate your torso because your strength comes from your torso. It does not come from your arms. Your arms are almost like spaghetti on the water. They don't have any real strength. I don't care if you work out in a gym every single day and you got pythons, kind of like I do. Look at that python. Bam. Your core is where your majority of your strength is, not your arms. So if you do go kayaking, you only use your arms and you never rotate. Okay? You don't rotate. God forbid something happens and you require not only to move really quickly, but you require physical strength, but you used it all. You're going to have a problem. If you just use your arms and you do not do torso rotation, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a real problem. Learn how to do torso rotation so that you can use the proper strength and it will decrease your fatigue. Okay. One more thing. This doesn't have anything to do with water, so just use common sense, people. Use common sense. Don't put toys in the ocean. Even though you fit in the toy. Your boat is a toy compared to that. Okay. We just gotta be smart. Not being smart can cause you to lose your life. You don't want this. You don't want that. So, I had a really bad accident. Those of you that have been following me for years, you already know this. I've had a really bad car accident when I was in my 20s. And I've had chronic pain ever since then. In my neck and my back. And I have fibro, whatever. I have fibro. My neck is getting worse. And I have 2 discs that I think of. 2 discs that are squished. That's what the radiology report says. Those 2 discs are squished. When I put my head down for periods at a time, I would say 7 to 10 minutes, the pain kicks in. And it kicks in really, really, really hard. And I have to take breaks doing whatever it is I'm doing. I cannot leave my head bent like that for extended period. Not even extended, short periods of time. It just depends on what I'm doing. I finally decided to use my brain. And I wrote you can send messages to your doctor on the portal that I use online. My hospital portal, doctor's office portal, whatever. There's a whole bunch of doctors that are on that. Doctors with University Hospital, with MOI, which is Missouri Orthopedic Institute, and doctors' offices that are connected to University Hospital. They're all listed on this portal. So if any of them are your particular doctor, you can send them a message. Almost like a text, but not really. I finally had enough agony that I wrote my doctor and I said, this is what's going on. Who do you recommend I see? Do I need to see an orthopedic surgeon or do I need to see a neurologist? Because this has been literally going on for a really, really long time. And the pain is so awful now that ignoring it is not an option. It's just not really, And I don't want to have to constantly have a pack of ice on my neck in order to do something with my head down. If there's any way that those discs can be replaced, and I want the best doctor that he can recommend, any neck surgery, any surgery is potentially dangerous. The neck is a sensitive area, and I don't want an oopsie and now I'm paralyzed. You know what I'm saying? I sent him a note and said, who do you suggest I see in regards to that? And I also sent him a copy of the written radiology report that describes what's going on in my neck, so he has something to work with, although he probably didn't need that because all he has to do is punch me up in the computer and all of that would be there with my x-rays. I will keep you posted. He has been super busy and he interviews doctors, potential medical students for medical school. You have to have an interview in order to enter medical school, and he started doing those interviews. So he's quite busy. I'll give him X amount of days, and then I will reach out again and say, hey, I sent a message. I just wanted to know, who does he recommend that I go talk to about my little piece of something floating? Who does he recommend I see? It's not something you want somebody messing with your neck. But when you've had enough agony, your body is letting you know through no uncertain terms, I'm not playing with you. I'm not. And I'm like, okay. I'm listening. My friend jumped my world about it. One of my friends, he jumped my world and he said, why is it taking you so long to see the doctor? I don't know, but I'm going to do it now. And he said, yeah, you should have did that a long time ago. Probably. There's a nerve back there that if that nerve gets damaged, it is responsible for your breathing. If that nerve gets damaged, you're done. You're dead. Nobody can do anything for you. When I was in EMT school, one of my instructors talked about that, and he said they responded to the scene of a motorcycle accident, and the guy had fell off his motorcycle. I don't know if he was hit by a car. I can't remember that part of the story. But he was on the ground. He fell off his motorcycle, and these people were good Samaritans, were trying to do CPR on him. And when my instructor responded to the scene, he's a paramedic, he felt the back of his neck and he said, thank you for CPR, but there's nothing that can be done at this point. He's gone. The back of his neck was mush. Probably like mashed potatoes. That nerve is damaged. That's it. It's a done deal. Sometimes you know too much that could go wrong, because I do have medical training. So you're thinking, that's such a delicate area, and I don't want to be paralyzed, and I don't want them damaging that nerve, and I don't want to have partial face paralysis, and I don't want this or that. The pain is so bad that I don't have a choice but to see what options I have. I will keep you all posted on that. I'm also going to be seen for my body makes tumors. I have some more tumors growing inside my ears. I have one growing. This is melasma, the discoloration of this is a melasma. Which eye is it? This eye? Yeah. See right there? I have a growth right there. My body has made tumors. It has a history of making tumors. So I go and see the dermatologist on later in March, I think. And the PA that I was seeing, physician's assistant that I was seeing, she's getting her colleague, the doctor, involved. Because she said, she didn't say you've got a lot going on and I want my colleague to see you. But she said, I don't want to miss anything because I have so many things going on that she's going, there's a possibility I have, and I talked about this before, and I'm going to let you guys go, but there's a possibility I have tuberous sclerosis because my body likes to make tumors and weird growths that are tumors, and that is obviously not normal. And that's the reason towards the end of the month or middle of the month, I can't remember which, I will go to the dermatologist and see the actual doctor and see what can be done about that. You guys take care. Be safe on the water. Be safe on the water. Be safe on the water. Do not go on the water without a PFD. Don't make me find you. I will hunt you down. Wear a life jacket. Have the appropriate kayak. Hire a guide. If you look at the water, even if you know the water like the back of your hand and that water looks crazy, wait for another day. It's just not worth it. Unless you can navigate crazy. But if your gut is telling you, we shouldn't do this, that's something you need to listen to. All right? I love you guys. Take care. Mama loves you. And I'll talk to you later.